Okay, rightio.
So this is George Lee's talking to Sean Maguire, who's been really determined to understand the issues I've told him, and his intellect is a massive risk now for the New World Order. They're totally exposed as mafia members, and I will tell you in this video of Donald Trump's linkages to the families that were the Pilgrim Fathers. That's the Bradford family that led the Pilgrims to massacre all the pagans in America. And Donald is, his ancestors in Holland were the Dutch admirals that fought and trained the people that fought for William and Mary in the taking over of England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales, and the absolute knocking out the concept that those were four independent kings. And all of that is religious hatred, and the launch, even today, of the concept that only a Protestant may be the King of England and the United Kingdom. Yeah, that is this. And I told Sean through the week that even the battles, so that's William and Mary and the battles of the Boyne, and all the things that happened, that is the battles of Austrian succession all over Europe. They're tearing their throats out, yeah, and they've now got guns. And on that image that I can see on my screen now, I was quite stunned to see that the Jacobite Rising of 1689, those are the years that the Bill of Rights were conceived so that William and Mary could have a close and warm welcome to the throne of Great Britain. No longer. That's the United Kingdom now. And if you refused, like the family that was Mcdonald at Glencoe, then you get massacred for it. So they did not get their signed acceptance that Scotland could never ever again have a king or a queen into them on time in Windsor Palace and all the places in Kensington Palace that were his home. Yeah, that is Blenheim for Churchill. All of it is a massive gift to the murderous change that was about, all of it is about the popes in Rome, who we've now learned, and I've told Sean, that they are descended from the Piso Bible author. That's Pliny the Younger helped them, but all of the first 10 popes are Piso relatives directly, and that is Martin McGuinness in Ireland. Yeah, that's Martin Pacelli McGuinness on the papal bloodline and making his living out of terror in Ireland. And it's just the same for the Protestant contenders. And I've got images of the do they still have the glorious marches on the 12th of October?
Sadly, they do.
Pardon?
Sadly, they. You've got me turned up very high, so I'm hearing an echo, George.
Oh, sorry, yeah, it's not very clear at your end.
Okay, I think it's because I'm turned up so high.
All right, yeah, just twiddle with it.
No, I mean your end. I'm perfect. Listen, can you hear me now?
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Well, yes, that is better. Yeah.
Sorry, it might be on my other computer. Let me see if I can get the sound there.
No worries. Can you hear me? Okay. It's not echoing now.
It's better now, yeah.
Okay. So yes, they do still have the 12th of July marches, and a lot of people living in the north of Ireland come down to the south to get away from it. All the Catholics come to Galway on holidays for a few days and stay clear of the marches.
And are you aware of the massive scam that is Queenie's stories about Hillsborough?
You've touched on this before, but please remind me.
So they have a massive mansion in Ulster, and it's called Hillsborough, and that is the cover for the Hillsborough disaster, and that is Rupert Murdoch's role in life. And you and I now know that he is the leader of the Mafia, and it's absolutely decrepit. And I've now discovered that when William and Mary came over, William, because God does not like the concept of you worshipping Jesus, when they came over, William died within a couple of years of signing the Treaty of, I can't remember what it was called, but all of them are gifted the nations, not just one, and if you refuse to sign, then you're dead as a dodo. And all of that is blamed on Alistair Campbell's lineage, but it was an Orange order, and you should see the Orange families and how suddenly they die. It's amazing. The one that was called Friso, and that is the launch of the Orange Order in Northern Europe. He died in the estuary of the river that is the Depp, and that is the launch of Johnny Depp, and all of it is massive. That is he died when he tried to cross the river, and that is another one of the Friso family is on the committee of 300, and I'll profile that in the second half of the video. It's an absolute disaster. There are 12 British royals on that. Even the administrator for the estates is on the richest 300 people in the world, and Ed Balls of Strictly Come Dancing is still on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And is the Orange Order, isn't that hailing from Holland?
Well, I met a man in a pub in Dundee, and so it quite stunned me that Dundee's Jacobite rebellion gets the headlines. But do you know where William and Mary's fleet landed?
No, go on.
They had a 4-day battle offshore with the British fleets or the English fleet, and then they stormed on shore. Let me see if I can find the name. TORBAY is the name of the place.
TORBAY.
Have you heard of it? It's in Devon.
It's a very lovely place, yes.
Yeah, so it should be. It's now heaven in the Christianity story. You've heard that before somewhere, haven't you? Yeah, and that is the same joke as the Xmas joke. And this week I've just sussed out what the BREXIT is. That is the braying donkey from Italy who had to sign his birth certificate with an X for Xmas.
Wow.
Yeah, and that is the only thing that our politicians who are trained at Tavistock and are the cousins of Hitler Rothschild out of the cigar tube. That is Theresa May's story that I told this week, which is why I'm being bummed out of the Forbes home.
So you're looking for a new place to live because you...
No, all I need now is a new place to make efficient videos like these. It's going to bring them down. Donald Trump is on Queen Victoria's bloodline.
Right.
Yeah, with that man Bradford that went to America to massacre the whole of America's pagans. That, for the folk singers, is America's native son. Yeah, good morning America, how are you? I'm your native son. And all of it is a pisstake, and they point up at the sun god that is their creator.
Right. And you linked Johnny Depp to a guy drowning in a river?
Well, he's just a New World Order plant and distraction. What is the name of his alter ego? He's
got quite a few, wasn't he? He was Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, so Jack Sparrow is actually the Washington family lineage. And that is Nancy Hanks, and that is the launch of the Hanks lineage as covers for the fact that George Washington is a bastard baby of Nancy Hanks. And the Hankses are Rockefellers of ancient Europe, and that they have the Rockefellers have the golf ball for their icon, and they started life in the Austrian or Swiss Alps. It's just a massive family syndicate.
Yeah, so that's the link with Tom Hanks.
Well, Tom Hanks he's a Rockefeller, and that's why they celebrated the killing of all of those people on the Normandy beaches, because every war they engineer is totally for profit, and you understand that now, because I've got the director numbers. I explained to you in the last video that a couple of days ago there was a fight between a man called Tyson, and that is the cover for Trading with the Enemy for George W. Bush's relatives, and George is being buried. Yes, he was buried yesterday. Yeah, that's George Herbert Walker Bush, who used to be called George Herbert Poppy Bush before the world began to realise that is the Poppy Day. 11/11 is the joke that he is in the lineage for Poppaea in ancient Rome that murdered Nero, because Nero was an enemy of the Pisos, who are now the Frisos, who die young. And they died on the Alps in an avalanche. Do you get it? The Frisos died in an avalanche.
That is
right then.
Very clever jokes they have.
Yeah, it's all just a massive assassination team for cash. And quite sadly, all of it comes into my hometown in the names of, there's a place called Harpertown, right up opposite the Duke of Roxburgh's corrupted castle. And that is the Duke of Roxburgh that will not let the citizens into his gates now, because he thinks I'm going to start a revolution. All I need to do is keep defaming the sad bastard. Yeah, right. And his wife is his ex-wife is the sister of the Duke of Westminster, and I believe that he's still alive. He's called Ken, and he's roaming around Dundee, and he does not have to pay any death taxes or any tax on his massive 13 or 14 billion. And all of it, and he's called Hosey to cover the fact that Shona Robinson, who's the person who's been asked to intoxicate all of the patients in the NHS when they get to the age of 60, which is the code name for Piso in the Bible. Yeah, that's as evil as the world can get, and we're already past it with the man that was the doctor trying to assassinate me by intramuscular injection. His name is Dr. Ian Fingland, and all of it is the same massive teams. The Finglands are the Douglas family that are the Dukes of Buccleuch, and that is the third claimants to the throne in England in a place called Dalkeith. Yeah, and that is where Bose Lyon had one of her second homes. And you know the story about Bose Lyon now, thanks to Greg Hallett and me. That is them. The real George VI was incapable of having babies, so his first wife fled back to Denmark, where she came from, and they replaced her with the Queen Mother, who's just a commoner, and she drinks gin. And all of it is those stories I've told you about the double agents in all the wars, and Cavendish, everybody that's in the Great Escape team, and in Stalag 9 and in Colditz, they're all in those massive elite families that go with Bertie Wooster and George W. Scherf, which is Bush, into America to be the Fourth Reich. Yeah, and that's why Germany has taken over, and that's why I cannot believe that, that the people of Ireland still celebrate the taking away of their kingdom. Yeah, and they celebrate it by blowing the heads off the other religions that are allowed to be. Yeah, and all of it is just totally insane. But as I told you the last time, that is the Piso master plan. That is divide and conquer. And in Catholicism, that is the masses.
George, where do we stand here in Ireland for our 32 county sovereign Republic of Eire that was ratified by the Irish people back in 1919? Where do we stand with that? Because it hasn't ever been.
Well, you see, the irony is that 1919, that's another one of the toffee-nosed carve-ups.
It was a carve-up.
Have you got buzz or hum again now?
No, everything's good.
Let me try turning the fire off or something.
Okay.
Sorry, I forgot the question.
Well, I was really asking, where do we stand as Irish people? Where do we stand with the 32 county sovereign republic of Éire that was ratified after a referendum by King George V? Where do we stand with that? Because it's never ever been unratified, if you like, and in fact that would be the first government or Dáil that I would recognise, and I wouldn't recognise anything afterwards because they're all provisional.
Yeah. Well, it's all just that's where the whole of Europe gets carved up at that time. And you know, even when you look at the maps of the territories that were held at the beginning and end of the wars by the Allied countries and the what was the other lot? Allied and Axis.
Okay.
Yeah, that X will be the same joke that we've just shared. Yeah,
BREXIT.
Yeah, every one of them, all the armies wear the oak trees on their shoulders, and that is the massive weather storms that they get in places like Oklahoma in America. They used to get round about 2 earthquakes in a year. Now they get 3,000.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's Donald's fucking regime, because he's the Nazi in White House. Yeah,
okay, so what's your view on Donald Trump?
So his ancestors in Holland were the bosses at the Dutch Navy, and you will be familiar with them. Let me. There is Cornelius Bicker, is an admiral. Just below on my tab, Cornelius Trump, and the Bickers are now the presenters of the news on the TV. That's Bicker for Britain is the presenter of the news on the telly. Let me find her.
And this is on the BBC, is it?
Yeah. She is Laura Bicker, and yeah, all of them. I've got a whole list of BBC news readers. And guess, have you heard of Reuters?
Yeah, the news agency.
So Reuter was an admiral like Trump in the William and Mary Dutch Navy.
Right.
And it's all absolutely sinister. And
that is
the Reuters. There's their icon on my screen now. And that is the Reuters building, Canary Wharf in London, where the terror occurred.
Yeah.
And all of it is false terror, and you now understand that. And they were founded, sadly, by the Thomson Corporation, that are the rich listers all over the world, but they have massive buildings in Dundee, just like that one that is on my screen now. And they, guess what song they wrote?
Go on.
Rule Britannia. The pisstake that Britannia is run from Maine, which is Frankfurt. That's the azure blue Maine, and it's in his song. And in my hometown, right under my treasonous wife from Chipping Norton's second home, at £800 a month, when I was accused of financial neglect against that woman, I never paid more than £120 a month on our mortgage for the home that she stole from me out of Chipping Norton. And have you heard of Grand? Her brother is a massive stealer from the dental community when they're training. He runs a thing called CPD. His name is Dr. Stephen Andrew Hancock's OBE. He got the OBE when I was living in New Zealand. We were not invited to meet the Queen's relatives. Yeah. And that is, he runs, there's terrible,
You okay?
Yeah. Can you?
You're sounding great this end.
Can you still hear me okay?
I can hear you fine, George.
I think it must have been the speakers that I was playing music on earlier. So Reuter is an admiral in the fleet, and it's off, and same for Bickers. Oh no, sorry, Bickers is bigger than that. Let me get a picture of her. Laura Bickers.
It's a shame my listeners can't see the pictures that you're showing your audience, but they can go onto your website, can't they, or your YouTube channel?
Yeah. Oh, there she is. There is Laura Bicker, BBC presenter, and she is doing her business out to fucking Glasgow. And we're not allowed to have a king or a queen here. All we're allowed to do with the kings and queens that are the claimants are lop their heads off, because they are Catholics.
Right.
Yeah, and that is the running of the world. I met Lord McAlpine's lookalike in the Malmaison Hotel this week, and he is on the McAlpine family tree. That's the McAlpine shops in the district that I'm now in, and he is the earliest papal bloodlines, which is laughed at in the Devil's Advocate movie by Al Pacino. They are directly descended, like Martin McGuinness, from the first Piso popes. And
but did this, you know, the lopping off of Catholics' heads? Did this all just start from Henry VIII when he decided to leave the Catholic Church?
Well, yeah, he resented the popes charging too much for the rental of the land, and that's why every abbey and cathedral north of Durham, where I used to attend, I'm an honorary professor at Durham still. I don't know if they've had the courage to take it down, but I used to be an honorary professor there, and all of that was given me by a man called Kalman, and that is Kalman Rothschild, and the earliest visitors from the Rothschild family to visit the Pope. Yeah,
right.
It's and they did not have to go down and kiss his feet like the Jesus myths. They were able to kiss his papal ring.
Right. So going back to Henry VIII, it wasn't just because he couldn't shag around and have more wives than he wanted, and the Catholic Church said no.
I'm not sure. Sorry, say that again.
It isn't just because Henry VIII wanted to have more than one wife, and therefore, under the Catholic rules, under the papal rules, he couldn't.
You're too narrow, Sean. It's all just a massive battle all across Europe. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same in Austria, and that is at the end of the war in 1914. Then they get all the innocent people in the wars. Yeah, they get locked off. But the rest of them become, and that is Theresa May, that is the Duke of Wellington, all of them are fucking Austrian.
Right.
You've not heard my videos on the Austrian nobility and all those pictures that I've shown the world that they keep taking down off my website, even although it's a Google website. Do you understand that the boss at Google is also the Brexit joke?
Okay, and obviously,
yeah, his name is Sergey something or other. Have you heard of the boss of Google?
I heard his name, yes. In fact, it was you that said it. And
it's just the Life of Brian joke for the B-Arians. He's Sergey Brin's, and he's worth way over $20 billion or pounds, and he's on Forbes. And that's why the Forbes are sulking that I'm now revealing what they thought was everybody that is in this Harrison Avenue. Do you get the name of the avenue that I'm in?
Okay, Harrison Avenue.
Field McConnell's body double is up at the top end, and he is able to speak perfect Dundonian. And there are body doubles all over the place. And let me tell you the story of the families that are. So I discovered, let me just go along the series of pictures that I've got on the top and open. So there is Amschel Rothschild. He committed suicide. He's actually the brother of Lord Jacob Rothschild, and I don't know whether or not the suicide was for familial power. Do you get it?
Mm-hmm.
He was married, I think, to a Guinness. Yeah. And there's nothing left on the internet about those issues. The young man committed suicide, and I think he was Jacob Rothschild's brother.
Okay.
Let me click on another picture. There is Prince Frederick of the Netherlands, and that is Prince Frederick, Prince of Orange Nassau. Full name's Willem for the Hohenzollern Kaisers, Frederick Karel. they're all the warmongering families. Then we get to Wendella Bicker from Amsterdam, was the wife of the Grand Pensionary Johann de Witt. Have you heard of them?
No, please enlighten me.
They're trying to free Holland from the stranglehold from German nations. And what happened to them was that they got murdered, two of them, and hung up, and then they were cannibalised by the political activists around them.
Whoa.
You've never heard of that?
No, I didn't hear that.
And
No.
the painters of those, the Bickers, are actually the owners of Dutch West Indies.
Wow, that's
And
massive.
that is the reader at the BBC of the news in the Clyde River Valley.
And so they also run Reuters, so mainstream media around the world is really guided by them and a few other
Well,
press.
that's right. I was aware of that, and I was completely stunned, and I hated the concept. And there's a man who works for Reuters in my fishing club at home, and his name is Eamon, which is demon. Yeah.
Oh.
And it's just amazing how they all creep in.
Over here we had Eamon de Valera, which is demon devil era.
Yeah, it's all the same. So Hall, that Rupert Murdoch married, is hell, and everybody knows it. And Hillary is Hillary Rodham Rose Clinton, but Hell Arius is her maiden name, our first name. And that is the Aryan joke. It's all just the Jesus and the cover-up of that, and that is Brexit. For it's now nearly 12 years. Yeah, they were talking about it, and all the things that happened when Gordon Brown was still the Prime Minister, he was able, as a scamster, to refloat the euro by making a sacrificial gesture. He made the British people make the sacrificial gesture because he restored the price of the euro. And he lives just over the river here in a town called Fife, which is the joke that Falkland Palace is the joke. It's run by the Duff family and it was owned by them. That is the Duffers that are claimants to the Scottish throne. No longer with us since William and Mary launched that hatred and massacred the Mcdonalds at Culloden because they did not sign his demand that we become a united kingdom quickly enough.
Wow.
Poor Alistair Campbell has had to take the fall for that.
So what's Gordon Brown up to now these days?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if he's still a politician. But he launched, the last thing he did were absolute massive scams on the radioactive beach for the war dead, and that beach has been radioactive since 1945, when they had another set of reparations, and Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands was the negotiator for the reparations. And that is why Holland decreased in size. Holland increased in size because his Royal Dutch Holland became Germany. Yeah, and that is the takeover by him as the fascist. The Prince of Wales was at the funeral. The Duke of Edinburgh was at the Nazi funerals in what now is Holland, but then was Germany, and all of it. Yeah, the families that attended Hitler's wedding included the massive, almost all the prime ministers across Europe, and that is just before they launched the war with Hitler Rothschild as the first cousin of Nathan Mayer Rothschild, and
That is incredible.
And the Queen of England. Yeah, with that picture that the weekend that they tried to section me, she had to go on the papers to cover up what they were trying to do, and she was doing the Sieg Heil sign for her family in front of the abdicated king, who was her uncle. And all of them, he and Mrs. Simpson, they lived in the Austrian mansion that is the Candy Schloss in Austria, and that is Candy Floss, and that is a game on the internet now. Would you like to play Candy Slush? Yeah.
Okay, it was Candy Crush, was it?
Yeah, that's it. It's all the same jokes, and
isn't it incredible, George, that the power that comes from Holland and Austria is as big as the Vatican, isn't it? I mean, and where does Switzerland fit in with the Swiss Guard, etc.?
Oh, they're massive. They're massive. That is the Bank of International Settlements, and the picture of Basil Brush that appears on the BBC every day. Just to cover that. And in the pub last night, the people that were the lookalikes for, I can't remember the name of the man, but King George Edward VII was the Orcofat, also the cousin of Hitler, and I think he's his uncle too, because they're all inbred and motherfuckers, and it is ever so nasty when you learn. Let me show my audience the picture of Theresa May, and I've got.
Yeah. So is that the one, Theresa May and Angela Merkel?
If you were to go onto Facebook on your thing, you would see what I've posted this week.
Okay, yeah.
And that is the pictures of Theresa May on my timeline below Donald Trump's ancestral trees that lead to the Kohl family that were the chancellors of Germany, and the Rodenroth family that are Hillary Clinton and the Rothschilds. Yeah, and everybody knows now that looks at my website or listens to my videos that both Donald and Hillary are descended from John of Gaunt of Lancashire.
Right. That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, I just wish I could get rid of. There's a little buzz. I've not heard it for ages.
I'm not getting it this end.
No, it's good. It's good.
Yeah. If you can put up with it.
Eh?
If you can put up with it, we'll be grand.
Let me just see if I turn my DVD player off. It gets any better. No, it's still slight hum, but as you say, it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's certainly not affecting the recording, George.
So, have you heard of the Committee of 300?
I have, yes.
Let me show you them. Sorry, I was going to show you Theresa May and the mind control training that she got.
Yes.
And it's just in the discussions on my postings on Facebook in the last few days. The first one,
under George Lee's on Facebook.
Yeah, so the first one is to Derek Halliday and my new mate in Dundee, Paul Alexander Mills, and that shows the joke that is the death of all of the Anzac war dead for the Allied countries, which is laughed at by their Queen on the opening day of the London Olympics. And there's a picture below that of Tim Shipman, war correspondent for Iraq, and the actor Robin Williams, who played the doctor that was the serial killer that now scares everybody shitless, and even the doctors have to do CPD. Yeah, to learn how to assassinate people in every county across the world. Yeah, and that they've now, since I revealed that Theresa May was trained at Tavistock, there is the pictures of the Trump family under inauguration, and on those posts are the whole of Donald Trump's family tree. Johann Philip Trump, 1667 to 1707, married Juliana Maria Rodenroth, and then Johann Sebastian Trump, 1699, just after the Shin was launched. That is the takeover by Germany. Yeah.
And that's where the married Susanna Margareta Cole.
Yeah, yeah. And she's, if I open it up, oh, it won't open. Oh, Seymour. Johann Paul Trump, 1727, married Jim Fetzer, has disappeared off the internet this week, married Maria Elisabetha Setzer. Yeah, and I knew this other bit already, which is that the Heinzes of the lovely sauces, you remember putting it on your chips every time you went to the chippy, It was Heinz sauce, and it was 66 varieties or something hellish on it. Oh,
57.
57, yeah. So
57.
that is in 1789, 100 years after the Shin was over and Germany had carved up the whole of Europe, and that is actually Austria and the most powerful families that are Rothschild, Todesco, and Jennifer Aniston. So they are Arnsteins, and all of that is the families like the Cohens that Donald has sacked and made the fuss about this week. Did you know, and I've not been able to publish the videos yet, but in the powers that be that are the White House, the Cohens have way over 400 individuals involved in the running of the White House regime. And that's the Little Sis website that I keep referring all of the investigative journalists to, because all of the Mafia are named, and they have lovely pictures of the syndicates that they put together.
Right.
Yeah, that's four. So that I can't remember the name of the Cohen that is going to be jailed. And Donald went on the telly earlier last week and said that he was just trying to get a reduced sentence. They're a lovely Mafia operative family, and he dodged the draft in Vietnam. And now that his family tree has been published on Wikipedia, they tell you that he was, in those early days, and his parents, right through the bloodline trees that I've published for years, are named Fred, that's Frederick Christ Trump. Dozens and dozens and dozens of them. So they are related to the Heinzes, and I discovered last night that Heinz is the owner in the early days of Berkshire Hathaway for Warren Buffett, and all of them are Forbes rich listers.
Right, I bet.
Yeah, there's Maria Katharina Trump. I don't know where the coal has... Oh, there she is. Johann Sebastian Trump, 1699 to 1756, married Susanna Margarita Kohl. Do you remember Chancellor Kohl and all of the scams of Gazprom selling all of the Russian gas off? And there were 44 Ponzi schemes to the west of Amsterdam in that scam. And I reported it, and the woman that was the Prime Minister in Ukraine had to get in a straitjacket to pretend that she was not anything to do with that scandal, and that is her who's on the Forbes rich list as a cover for a much richer Timoshenko that is in the Russian syndicate with Sergey B. Arian that runs Google.
Wow, so she had to plead insanity, did she?
Yeah, and no, she's just a mobster. She's now reading the news for Sky on the evening. She's a beautiful little woman, and I tried to get in touch with them. And even the Radio 4 team used to, I think I've told you this before, even the Radio 4 team used to laugh and giggle that I was going to be the man that saved her. Yeah, and that is John Humphreys and all the Humphreyville families that are in the World Learning Bloodline. And that is the person that has resigned recently, is the one that is Sarah Montague, and you understand why she's resigned. That's the Montanus families that are the first cousins of the Queen of England, the Dukes of Buccleuch, and that is the family that Dr. Ian Fingland is in the clan for.
Mm-hmm. And it was both male and female that had the middle name Christ, wasn't it?
Yeah, right through it. But in the new family tree, it's all been cleaned up. And there's a Christian Johannes Trump, and they tell you that they were hotel owners in the earlier letters, and I've got the letters between their family members asking how they were getting on and how the brothels were going. Yes, so they've changed it to becoming brothel owners, and there is not a mention of Donald Trump being a draft dodger. And this week he was giving out medals because they know in advance that every video I make is going to be on topics like that. The gods asked me to look why Donald Trump has got medals all over his chest as a draft dodger, and I could not find anything other than him. But there are dozens of pictures. If you look for the pictures of him, you'll see that there are absolutely dozens of pictures of him with the medals, and nobody knows why they were given. So
that's the same with the royal family. I mean, all members of the royal family, when they're in public at any procession or anything like that, they're just covered with medals.
Absolutely, yeah. That's and they are. A man died in Kelso. He got horrible cancer. He was either in the Navy or the Air Force. And when I published a video that said that the British Royals were still the commanders-in-chief of the British Army, Kaiser Wilhelm was head of the British Navy 12 days before World War I broke out. That's the first one, yet not the second one that was in charge in World War II, and insisted on having a swastika flag at his funeral.
Nice.
There are the pictures now of John Willem Friso, Prince of Orange, dying in the Dutch River estuary. He took a ferry boat and he failed to get to the other side. And that is the same story as William and Mary, and his horse tripped on a molehill that is the mountain from a molehill that I tell you about in every video. Yeah, that's the Piso nickname is Montanus, and that is Sarah Montague and all the spates of resignations, because they're born to die. And I hate to say that because it might make them impatient to execute me, but they are born to die. And if I now take you to the Committee of 300s, I can show you what happened off-piste. Let me just go through all of the pictures to make sure. There are the earliest Berenberg banks in a place called Hamburg. Have you heard of that in a monarchy context?
Not sure.
So the movies and all the jokes about the geese and flying home are the earliest bankers in world history. They are the owners of the Berenberg Bank, and the woman that told me that I had 12 days to go in my safe house is a dead ringer for one of the Berenberg family tree members, and her current husband is a Forbes. There is the family tree for the Berenberg family, and that is Hamburg, where blind Prince George of Cumbria and Teviotdale came from. He's the Hanoverian princes that allowed Queen Victoria to have viable babies. You remember those stories?
I do, yeah.
That's what got my mate Greg Hallett killed, and my mate used to be a Skype correspondent like you.
So what about this Greg Hallett that's on Facebook now?
They're all just plants. The new Greg Hallett on Facebook pretended that he attended Kelso High School, and then I tore him to bits, and he's no longer got a Facebook page.
Ah, right, because I offered to put it onto my show, to come on the show, and he told me that he wouldn't come on such an unlistened to little dregs of a show, you know.
Well, do you see the plight that Jim Fetzer's in? He could not be reached on Skype all day yesterday. Yeah, that's the...
I hope it's okay.
Well, he panicked when I revealed that the Bushes were nicknamed George Herbert Poppybush. He said, no, I believe that's something to do with their appearance at the war graves, and it is, and it's a joke, like the killing of the Anzac war dead. Rupert Murdoch made the Gallipoli movie.
Ah, right.
And have you seen the Pogues version of those lovely historic battles?
The Pogues?
The Pogues, there are two different versions on the internet until today of the Pogues singing their Gallipoli song. And yet knowing what it is like to be legless as you return to your woman in the war. And that's the same for the Flemings. That is the Scottish widows, and that is a financial services thing that they launched after they stopped naming themselves Chase Manhattan.
Right.
Yeah. And
well, listen, I've got to put across you then, just to go back to the Greg Hallett and Jim Fetzer situation. You've basically scared Greg Hallett away. You scared Jim Fetzer away. You nearly scared me away, you bugger, by saying that I was part of the Chipping North.
Jim continues to come back, but I believe that he's an ultra intelligent man, but I believe he's in the family tree for Donald.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's quite an embarrassing thing to happen. When
is it? We can't all, you know. I mean, a lot of people blame a son for what their father did. You can't really do that, can you?
Not really, but because it's a syndicate that has declared that only Protestant can be kings,
right?
Yeah, and that they're prepared to shoot each other in the head or to blow up their car in front of their enemy in the rival religion, and they call their mansion in that Ulster, they call it Hillsborough, and that is the multiple inquests into who did the murder at Hillsborough, and 66 people died at Ibrox.
It's all a bit crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, you're not in the Masons, are you?
No.
God bless you. And there is a picture of the new claimant to the Orange throne in Holland. Her name is Catharina Amelia, Princess of Orange. And she is, her full name is Catharina Amelia Beatrix Carmen Victoria. All of them are in the same bloodlines, but her mother is absolutely fabulous. She's an Aztecan queen. Yet from the massive places that were stolen by the ultra efficient armies, that is the, have you seen the massive, the film featuring Jeremy Irons and Robert De Niro?
You're going to have to remind me of the film.
I can't remember, it's the Mission. Yeah, and you can imagine which mission it is. That is the killing of every pagan in Latin America.
Wow, it's heavy, isn't it?
Yeah, and the music is lovely, and all of it is by a Forbes Richlister. All of the musicians that write the world's most inspiring music are Forbes Richlisters. That is Barry, John Barry, that is out of Africa. That is, my favourite one is the author of the Gladiator movie, and he lives in Frankfurt. Hans Zimmer and the Zimmer frame.
Okay.
You've never heard of him?
I've heard of him, yes, but you had to remind me what he'd written, though, you know.
So all of them are born and raised in the Palatinate, which is Donald's home, and I can get to that, we need to, if we're going to profile the Committee of 300 and the four Richlisters. Do you understand the Lowenstein joke for Orange and the power of those families? Do you know? Have you heard of Lowenstein?
No, you're going to have to remind me. It didn't off the top of my head.
That is the manager of the Rolling Stones for the Jagiellonian dynasty, and he was on the Committee of 300 as well. Yeah, that's the serial killing Austro-Hungarian families of Orange.
Wow, and isn't it interesting that Jagger's ex-wife is now, Jerry Hall, is now Murdoch's wife?
Yeah, absolutely, and Murdoch's ex, Wendy Deng, is sleeping with Putin. It is a massive mafia operation, and they run the global police, and the Queen is the head of the Metropolitan Police in Britain, and that's why Lord Condon is sulking around in Dundee all the time.
Yeah. And more and more.
And I've told you before, he is a papal lineage with the families that were the. What was Grace Kelly was of Monaco.
Princess of Monaco.
Yeah, and the real people that she married there, the Rainiers, are a papal bloodline too. And that is the Monaco racecourse. And it's the same for Liverpool. Liverpool was run, and it's now the Grand National Course by Lord Oaksey, the pagan colour. Yeah, the colour of all of the pagans across Europe. That's Oaksey of Liverpool. And he was the inquest chair for Britain at Nuremberg. Absolute fascism, and all of it think that is Lord Levison Gower of the Levison Gower Inquiries estate now, and that was a Formula One racecourse.
And is this why Nazis were able to get away with everything and disperse to America and Argentina?
Absolutely, the same families have run the world for possibly 6,000 years, if the Jewish bit is true.
Right.
But the Jew that wrote the Bible was Arius Calpurnius Piso, and he's the man. And I've just learned, have you heard of the man who resigned a few months ago because he's a claimant to the Norman English throne? His name is, he ran the company that is Wire, Plastics and something, and his second company was called The Man. And his name is, he's a terribly nervous man, Martin Sorrell. He with Nick Clegg, Princess Anne and David Beckham, they were part of the fleecing of the London Olympics, where we were allowed officially to laugh at Mr. Bean, being the war correspondent at Gallipoli, and all of the jokes. The family that is on the bloodlines, and I found it yesterday night, who wrote Chariots of Fire? He was my boss at Sunderland University.
Oh God, I can't remember.
Well, so he's Chariots of Fire, and he's Putnam. So when I was looking for, have you heard of the woman that is Earhard?
Putnam produced the film, but I don't think he wrote it, did he?
Well, he's a massive mobster. He was the Chancellor at the University of Sunderland, and he's a war criminal in the Second World War. I've published a video on that. That's why he's been hateful to me ever since. But he is in the family tree.
Well, listen, I just googled it, and it's Colin Welland wrote the screenplay for.
All right. Well, but you've heard of the other guy.
David Putnam, yes, yeah. Indeed, yeah.
So he's a munitions manufacturer in World War II, and that video was made back in 2012 when I was still at Liberty and possibly still married to the Vash from Chipping Norton. So there is Katerina Amelia, Princess of Orange, yeah, Kingdom of the Netherlands, and she is the eldest child of King Willem Alexander and Queen Maxima. He's Willem Alexander of Orange.
Nice.
She's Princess of Orange, and she is in that picture in December 2014, age 14. Oh no, sorry. No, sorry. She was born on 2003, which makes her
15.
Just a teenager still. And she's the new woman. Her mother is the Queen. There she is, Queen Maxima of the Netherlands. She has probably the most fascinating and spectacular lineage that I've ever seen. She works at the Hitler Bank.
I have to ask you because it seems to be news and lots of people talking about it recently. Where 788, 790 Finchley Road fit into all this, Gordon Bowden's work?
Say that again.
Where does 788, 790 Finchley Road fit into all these scams? And
it's just relatively trivial. Gordon Bowden is just a plant for the New World Order.
Do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. He's just massive. He's a scamster all the way to the bank. Yeah, which is why he's not talked to me since I revealed that his friend, you remember the man that was killed in London in the inquests into the efficiency of the banks, was called Chan. His name was Stephen. His sister, I can't remember her first name, I invited her to make a video that would explain why she was on so many boards as a practicing pharmacist. The story that Gordon Bowden told me. She is the cover for the 3 Chans on the Committee of 300 that run the World Health Organization with Donald Berwick, and that is the BREXIT scam that Peter Eyre and Gordon explained to us. That is
Right.
Donald Berwick and Obamacare. And I think we should go now. Let me just go to... So there is Queen Maxima of the Netherlands.
Okay.
Born Maxima Zorigueta Cerruti, is the wife of King Willem Alexander of Orange, Queen Consort of the Netherlands, since Beatrix got too old to take the stress.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and even Juan Carlos in Spain, all of them have abdicated now since people called George Lees started to tell the truth about the regimes and their children that just happened to be British royals. Yeah, and Greg Hallett died for that.
Yeah.
And his website has been totally dismembered by the new ones who still, they do not sell his books, yeah, because it reveals the truth about Queenie and
Right.
all of the Rothschild babies right through all of the wars.
So if I went on Greg Hallett's website now and tried to buy one of his books, I couldn't.
No, you get PDFs because they're openly published. And it's the same for Abelard Reuchlin in the west coast of America. His printing company and the publishers, led by Douglas Vogt, which is the launch of John Voight into Hollywood, and that is the massive
Angela Jolie's father.
Yeah, and that is the Christmas dream joke that is the diaspora of the Germans out of Germany. Yeah, and into Latin America, where they become the drug-running syndicates, and all of it is published in my website, and all of them are allowed to take all of the images down. Even, I discovered 2 weeks ago that Boris and David Cameron's image with all the massive mafias, it's been taken down for years. Okay, there is a picture of Sofia of Spain and my search for Infanta Elena, Duchess of Luga. They're all Orangemen. Juan Carlos of Spain, Felipe VI of Spain, he's now working in the Malmaison in Dundee. Letizia of Spain, the soggy lettuce. Christina, Infanta Elena, Duchess of something. Inaka Urda Garnin, Felipe de Marichalar, Frederica of Hanover, Mother. Constantine of Greece. Those are the residual monarchs, all of whom are related to Charlemagne, the serial killer that went to the Vatican in 800 AD, which sounds just like a Pisa number to me, but I don't know what it is. And it's on and on it goes. And there is the Friso that drowned in the Dieppe River Valley, and it's right next to Rhineland that runs right across Europe, and all of that has been canalised to try and stop the gods flooding it. And the floods just get bigger and bigger and bigger. So that is Johann Willem Friso, Prince of Orange, dying at the age of 21 in his ferry boat.
Right. And do you feel these natural disasters are happening because of what they're up to and because of the evil thing?
Absolutely. You should see the number of deaths for the Committee of 30 and the Committee of 300, and the God gets them on the ski slopes. So do you know where the place where Schumaker died? He's not officially dead yet, because that would be a propaganda disaster in Star Wars. Guess where he died of peace?
Go on.
Gland. That's God's land in the Alps. Yeah, and that is Schumaker, that was best mates as the Stig with Jeremy Clarkson, who's had to resign because he's the chipping knot and set, and his mates are called Hammond to cover the Hammond, our Chancellor from Austria.
Yeah, it's quite incredible, all the connections.
Yeah, and let me just show you, before I go to the Committee of 300, the Facebook pages. So there's Donald Trump's family tree, and they've now, since I published it, much broader than that, and told the stories about him running brothels and being a draft dodger for Vietnam, they've now decided to try and make him legitimately open. So he's related to the Hineses. He's related to the man that is Fetzer's sound-alike, and he's the Hineses are the founders of Berkshire Hathaway, which is Warren Buffett's billionaire syndicate, and Warren Buffett is a massive profiteer out of Tesco's, which is cover for Tedesco in the Austrian nobility.
Right, wow.
Yeah, all of it is a massive. And the Cohen story, you must understand that Baron Cohen is Ali G, but the Cohens are actually the first Jews to marry into the Rothschild bloodline because they can no longer have babies, other than the ones they have with the illegitimate monarchs. And it's all absolutely sordid. And to get their legitimacy back, the Cohens have been sacked in the White House this week, and I discovered that there are 450 of them on the Little Sis website profiling the activities in the White House. 450 high priests of Israel, and that's why the Pythons in their comedies, the man that played the mother of Brian, the Virgin, you remember him? He's now got a lethal cancer. He's Terry Jones, and all of them are now suffering from pathologies. And when Jennifer Aniston released a very misplaced and revealing video on Bill Paxton's funeral. I think Bill Paxton was involved in the movie about sinking the Titanic so that they could launch the wars, and that is the sinking of the Titan 10 years before. That was a novel. And that is, so at Bill Paxton's funeral, all the Monty Python's team were there, and all of them were either in wheelchairs or they were walking, what do you call the things that fit under your arm? Long John Silver had one.
Crutches.
Yeah, and that is the gods attacking them, and the funeral took place in Los Angeles. You understand the eagle's wings?
I do, yes.
So that is the killing of every pagan on this earth, and slowly suffocating them by cutting the ribs open on the table like Braveheart. Yeah, he was getting stretched on the table, but the pagans got their ribs opened and the lungs were laid across them on their backs, and that is the angel's wings. Every time you hear a bell ring, an angel gets its wings for the fascists that make every movie in America, and all of them are made to cover some scandalous activities.
So that's even going back to the Christmas movie Wonderful Life.
Well, that's right. Guess where Donald's hometown is?
Go on, where's his hometown?
It's not actually in the... It's the right next to the abbey that was founded after St. Boniface, who cut down Thor's oak. Let me see if I can find that on my OneNote profile. Oh, it's Fulda. So, have you heard of Fulda Abbey?
Oh, sorry, my dog's just... Fulda, did you say?
Fulda is the massive cathedral that was run by St. Boniface, who is actually out of Devon, like the fleet that landed there, because that is heaven in the Christian story. And that is on James Blunt's family tree, because they are the Blount family, and he's a massive Mafia operative, and he's the only one that could stand up to Jeremy Clarkson. He's now packed up. Yeah, all of them are in fear. But you remember we talked about Stephen Fry, about the Bertie Wooster. He's actually massive on the Bertie Wooster diaspora, and he plays the role of Jeeves. But he's made a new video this month, and it is absolutely to cover everything we have talked about in the last 6 months to 12 months. Yeah, and that is the man that pretends. I don't know whether or not it's a sound-alike. You don't actually see him making the statements, but all of it is the cover. The quiz show host is discussed by Stephen Fry, and that he's got a massive link to the Piso family too. Who's the quiz show host? Have I got news for you?
Well, they changed it so often, but Angus Dayton was the original.
No, he's always been the presenter since I started to watch it, and he's a massive publishing joke too. The whole of his life is a public speaker. He's got the word Piso in his name. It's not Hopkins. It's.
I mean, I'll Google it now and see.
Yeah. You'll remember him when you see him.
Because Angus Dayton was the original.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, but.
Yeah.
And
I don't watch TV much.
The boss at the Lib Dems, he died really young, and the week before he died, he appeared on that programme, telling us about John Prescott's fish.
Well, it says Angus Dayton is the presenter, and it says guest presenters from 2002 onwards.
Yeah, so it's the little noxious one.
Ian Hislop.
Yeah, that's it. So that's got the word Piso in it, and that's.
He's a member. He's always one of the guests on it.
Yeah, went to Oxford. No bombing through the war. Like the Pythons, and Oxford and Cambridge are the hubs for every one of the Python billionaires that were in the wheelchairs at Bill Paxton's funeral. And now you cannot get any images of Bill Paxton's funeral because Jennifer Aniston, you know all about her angelic life, out of the Arnstein community in Austria with the Rothschilds and Tedescos, and all of it is the Cohens, the high priests of Israel, and they married the Rothschilds, and that is Hannah Rothschild married one of the Cohens, and that is the launch of the ethnic hatred in Tottenham, because there's a Jewish cemetery there.
And a massive Jewish contingent there, Cohens, many of them.
Who's the footballer that played for Tottenham in England? He's the cover for the bishops in Europe that were the friends of Arnie Schwarzenegger's family.
He played for Tottenham and England.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. So that's Archbishop Hoodle.
Glenn Hoddle actually dated my cousin.
You're kidding me?
No, I'm not. No. My cousin Michelle, she was a beauty queen, so she won. I think she came quite high up in Miss World or whatever, but she was definitely Miss Britain.
I've got some confessions to make too. My sister's family are called Cook, and that is a massive joke. That is the Captain Cook that despoiled the whole of the Australasian countries, and he was the first to discover it. He was born in a town called Ednam, which is 2 miles out of my hometown, under the Thompsons monument.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for Rule Britannia and the running of Thompson's Reuters by the admirals of the fleets for William and Mary, that did the job in 4 days in Devon and made us a united kingdom, and that allows us to keep lopping the heads of the Catholic claimants. And I've got no time for religion except for the pagan worship of the sun gods and any other gods that may follow that person, if they're that deity. Yeah, it's just, I hope I do not offend your listeners, but I'm looking. What was I going to look for? So there is Laura Bicker on the BBC. There is Cornelius Bicker, the owner of Dutch West Indies.
So it's Reuters. They use their name as the news agency in Great Britain, but who would they be the same people running the Associated Press and the
it's the Thompsons family are now coupled with Reuters because all of them are the Dutch mafias. And you did not know about De Witt getting murdered by the monarchies and all their supporters that are those orange people that die young?
No, I didn't know. No.
And it's all over the place. And there is the tab for TORBAY.
There's so many places, George, that are in historical terms are alluded to as though they're heaven. Why are there so many places?
Say that again.
You mentioned TORBAY, and you also mentioned.
I just believe it's the Christian joke. It must be pretty heavy when you've spent your day massacring your indigenous people thousands of miles from home, and it would be lovely if you thought that eventually you'll get to heaven. I don't believe that Christopher Martin or Gwyneth will get there. Yeah, that is the Christopher Martin that was the money man on the Mayflower, and his friend is the 16th cousin of Donald Trump, and that was Bradford, the boss on the Mayflower, and that is the boss at the company in York where Braveheart sacked it, and the Duke of York became Bertie Wooster. That is the massive. It's just a massive capacity. Everywhere that they've gone, they have killed the innocent people that lived there. And you must have seen the stories. What was the man? The joke about having your sex with a woman on a Friday is not having. You could only eat fish on a Friday or gobble it.
Should have Friday.
But you get that for Man Friday. That's the launch of the Bullingdon Boys, and Man Friday was a pagan in the place where the ship crashed. Right. Do you get it? It's absolutely obscene, but that is.
It's interesting. And then Tom Hanks was in Castaway.
Yeah. And the football story has changed again. Someone's just won the Golden Globe this week. I can't remember who it is, but all of it is just covers. So Huddle, he got an emancipation period in his life, and he started to talk about Jesus. That's just to cover Archbishop Huddle, who was Pope Pius XII's assistant in the Vatican. And that's the Nazi Pope.
Well, Glenn Hoddle got into a lot of trouble and was sacked from being England manager for saying that people with disabilities, they've earned it, they deserve it.
Well, that's probably when the news is getting out that he's in those ancient European bloodlines, Did you not know that Douglas Vogt was the publisher of the real Bible story, and they got topped for that? They lived in what became Mark Phone was a T-Mobile, and that is the T-Mobile headquarters became the actual post office box number for Abelard Roykland's murdered boss.
Wow.
It's absolutely sinister, and that's why I believe Greg Hallett was murdered. When you've got the courage to publish books, it becomes really dangerous to tell the truth, because it's all totally evil. Let me now get the Committee of 300.
Yes. We'll get there in the end, George.
Yeah. How long into the broadcast are we now?
Let me see. Let me look. We've got another 3/4 of an hour.
Oh, hope I've not screwed up by showing you.
You revealed too much too soon, did you, George?
So there in 1945 is the War of the Austrian Succession, led by Lord George Murray, Duke of Cumberland, Battle of Prestonpans, Siege of Carlisle, Battle of Falkirk Muir, Siege of Inverness, Battle of Culloden, raids on Lochaber and Shiramoor, and that is just 1708 to 45, and that is the massive launch of the Shin and the German takeover now of almost completely the whole world. But that's not what I was looking